how? So you said you were in Greenfield after their EF4 this year, right?
Yes.
And how? I guess, and you said that you saw people come together and stuff. I guess what is that like from your perspective as a chaser? Because I know obviously being a weather nerd myself, it's very difficult. Keeping that balance. Having that conflict and balance, like of how much we love storms and tornadoes and stuff, and then you see how much they break people's hearts and stuff. So I guess how did you feel in that moment, and how did you cope with it, and how did you, I guess, try to, like, how did you try to think about it in the best way possible and try to make, I guess, be respectful, I guess.
So, of course, everybody takes trauma differently and stress differently. For me, I to this day I still don't have issues with seeing that tornado and the aftermath of that tornado. That's what I was trained for. My entire family, or a large portion of my family, is firefighters, EMS, police officers.
Oh wow.
I have that training to deal with large scale mass destruction situations like Greenfield. So I was already trained to know what to do in that situation and know how to feel and how to deal with it.
Right.
So my reaction to that tornado would be much different from, say, your quote unquote ordinary Joe storm chaser who has never seen damage to that degree and has never dealt with seeing injured people, bodies, a lot of people going through a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a matter of I was there, I had my gear, I had my med bag, gloves, steel toe boots at the ready. As soon as we got into town, it was get out of the car, get everything ready, go to work.
Yeah.
No
Because
questions, no question asked.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I always imagine what that's going to be like, for me. And then since my dad and I chased together, we've talked about that before. I've asked him and stuff like, do you think about that day, like when that happens? I guess just, and we've talked about going and getting, I guess, like certified with certain things, and taking a class on CPR and stuff. At least getting that and stuff. That way, we're ready by the time like next year comes around and stuff. But it's like I'd say that's one of, if not my biggest fear, because I know that that day is coming, and eventually it's going to happen where it's like you get your awesome violent tornado, but it's there's I have a saying, there's a positive, and it takes a positive and negative charge to get a spark. So what that means is basically any situation you think, I guess, like obviously like tornado is like, oh, it's great for us, but it's equally, if not more, horrible for on the other end, and that's definitely going to show itself when you go into the damage path like that. And I just see videos of what happens and stuff, but well, I guess like they always tell you it still doesn't do it justice. So then it leaves you thinking like, well, yeah, like what's it gonna be like, So I mean, definitely the night before May 25th, I was thinking about that. Definitely, obviously, as we both know, with how high the parameters were and everything, and some of the model runs, I was thinking, I was like, there's a good chance we're gonna see something not cool tomorrow, and we're gonna be involved in a human aspect situation where it's like we're gonna be faced with decisions to make, and we're gonna potentially have to be there for somebody in whatever way, or help them in whatever way that we can. I guess it's just a bunch of moral things that come into play, and all sorts of stuff, especially if you're just like an average Joe citizen. So yeah, I felt the need to ask that question. Just wanted to see like your take on that, or just not take, but I guess your experience with that, like your say, like how that happened, how you dealt with it. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. I still don't know what to think about the Greenfield tornado. I
Yeah.
still have a lot of thoughts of what I could have done differently
Right.
in response to that tornado. But I'm sure you were well aware that I was there with the y'all squad for 3 days after
Hmm.
to cook food, serve food,
Good.
and they give away supplies.
Yeah.
So we were thankfully there. We had the resources there to actually stay in the town for a few days
Good.
to actually, I mean, the amount of help that town needs compared to what little help we were able to offer
Right.
seems minuscule. But we were at least able to hear people's stories, give them some relief, give them some food, a good conversation to hold.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a guy actually pull up in his little, I think it was like a 1980s car. He had I believe it was a 4-inch tree branch was shoved through his windshield, and his windshield wipers wouldn't turn off.
My goodness, that's odd. Yeah.
Guy pulled up to our tent and everything, got out, asked for some hot dogs, and we just. I think that's when reality really set in for me. Was like, wow, did someone really just pull up in their car with a 4-inch branch shot through their window, still sticking out of their windshield, and their airbags, are deployed, their windshield wipers are not turning off, and they're pulling up to grab a hot dog and a
Hmm.
hamburger from our tent.
Wow.
So it was just surreal.
Right. Yeah.
I hope I never have to go through something like that again. I hope they never have to go through something like that again.
Absolutely.
But at least I know what to do and I'm prepared for the next time.
Right.
Because there's gonna be a next time,
Exactly.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But at least I'm gonna be more prepared than what I was then.
Yeah. It's like I definitely yeah want to get more prepared with that. I think it's obviously like I'm a cadet in the Civil Air Patrol, so obviously I do know a few things about like emergency services and stuff, but I'm still not like trained. Like I want to yeah like be trained enough to feel confident and not feel like I'm going into it as like let me just see what I could do. I mean, because obviously yeah you do go into it like that because you don't know what you're gonna find, but you all it's like I'd want to have some sort of aim to be able to know that if I needed to do something for somebody I could, I guess. Like I don't like I'm not just there helpless. So it's like with the Anthony Day on May 25th, I just basically I was like, well, what I guess because my philosophy is if I'm going to chase, I want to be able to give back to the community and help out in some way, shape, or form, even if that's just like relaying alerts. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I don't deserve to be there. So it's like but then I guess with rescue, I was like, well, I mean, what? I guess, I mean, there's nothing I could really do. Like, I don't really have much. So, like, what could I put in this? What could I pack? I was like, well, let me pack, I don't know, just gloves. I guess I threw gloves in the bag, I guess. So I was like, well, that might help. I don't know. I mean, guess, you know what I mean? So I was like, I want to be able to get more
Basic
direction.
life training, CERT, CPR training,
Yeah.
basic life support training. I recommend that to anybody who's gonna try to chase severe weather.
Yeah.
If you're gonna chase tornadoes, you need to have that experience because
Definitely.
the way that I see it is it's no fair that I get to go into these towns, record these tornadoes hitting their town, and then I get to leave after happy as could be making my money, getting
Right.
my views, while
Exactly.
they just lost everything. It's not fair.
No.
So the least that I can do, the absolute least that I can do is help.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that very little chasers actually stopped to offer to help. I
Mm.
mean, hell, it was me, Ryan Scholl, my friend Wyatt, Brandon, Vince, and a couple other chasers scattered in between there who were actually in town helping. But
Yeah.
out of all that, we had probably upwards of 150 vehicles down that highway, and only a tiny little fraction of them even bothered to stay in the town to help out.
Wow.
It baffled me.
Yeah, because like I see it the same way. It's like yeah, to me, it's like I feel like I've done something wrong, or like if I don't help out afterwards, or even like at the very least, I need to be conveying to people and relaying information that something bad's about to happen to hopefully save their life or something, because it's like yeah, like you say, it's just like I don't deserve. There's no reason for me to be here if I don't help out. So I remember on May 25th, I kind of felt a little guilty because I guess, like they say, pain is relative and also what people see is relative because obviously like you and I have been joking for the past half hour, if not probably more than that, about how much May 25th flopped. But obviously we know there were parts of it that did flop and didn't do anything. And there were also parts of it that were a devastating outbreak. And so it's like, you obviously we could look at it and be like that Anthony storm. Well, it was primed to put down a a monster wedge tornado and right across Kansas all the way to Parsons and stuff. But it did, obviously it didn't do that, but it still produced like two or three tornadoes, and one of which was an EF2. And I didn't, and like I said, because that tornado wasn't a traditional mesocyclonic tornado, the EF2 wasn't anyway. The others were. I really didn't know it was there. I mean, I assumed that the tornado reports that came in were from the weak, brief ones that we saw. And so, as far as I'm concerned, the day's over. Like, okay, everything's clustered and it's dying out. And so my dad and I start driving home, and then we get to a quick trip, and I pull up Twitter and I see, oh shoot, there was a house destroyed back there, and obviously I didn't really know until later. It's like, yeah, I saw a report they had a roof ripped off and stuff. Like we were already driving away, and I got to the quick trip by then, like miles and miles away. And I did even. It's like I kind of thought it's like, well, it's like you could say, obviously, yeah, we say it's like, oh, it was a bust, but then for that family, obviously, it's still personal. Like now sure, their whole house maybe wasn't leveled, but I mean it was a total loss. They lost the house, and all their outbuildings and vehicles were destroyed and basically unusable. And so basically I thought, it's like, oh, I wish maybe we could have known or done something, but like a ton of chasers stopped by, thankfully, on that main road that day to help and stuff, and a lot of them came flying past us afterwards. But a lot of thankfully chasers helped that day and stopped for those people, and then eventually those people said, actually, we don't need any more people here, from what I hear. So they sounds like they, at least initially, they got the resources that they need. But it just goes to show how even one little, I guess, tornado like that, like from what we think is a bust, still ruined just that one family's life. Or well, not ruined it, but I guess shook it up in the moment. And I guess part of me is kind of like, it's like, oh, I wish I would have known, or it's like even just that is what I'm saying is like driving away from it. Yeah, there's something that kind of like, yeah, there's something calling me that, yeah, it's like, yeah, I feel like if I'm going to be there, I got to be able to do something to help out. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to be there.
A big one that I'll never forget, tornado that I drove away from that I know hit a town, was Westmoreland, Kansas.
Right. Yeah. Somebody
Of
died
course,
in
I
that
was
too.
11 miles away from the tornado when I saw it, but at that time, I didn't think about. I never even occurred to me if that tornado was hitting a town. All I
Yeah.
knew that hey, I was seeing a pretty tornado. I was having a lot of fun.
Right.
It wasn't until a few days after, when I heard that it had killed a guy,
Yeah.
that I sort of realized, I was like, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
I could have been there to help.
Right. Yeah.
And I chose to drive away from this tornado when I couldn't see it anymore, just because I was greedy and I wanted to go see another tornado.
Right.
Because if I oh, my headphone said it just fall off. If I knew that tornado had hit a town head on, I would have been there in a heartbeat to help out in any way possible.
Right. Yeah.
But
It's like with that tornado
that's
too, is like it was. I mean, it's deceptive because I knew from the morning that day any tornadoes that did happen, like even if they were strong, they weren't going to be very large, at least width wide or wise. They'd be very like tall and picturesque just because of the high base and low moisture. But even despite that, when I saw the pictures coming in, like some of yours and then some other people, it's like I saw this big pretty cone. I remember thinking, oh, that's nice. At most, it's probably going to be a low end EF2 because that's just what you're conditioned to think when it's a small tornado. Even though we know that's not always the case, it's like it's like I saw that and I thought, no, it's probably like an EF1, maybe a low EF2 or something. But but it wasn't until I saw, I think, Aaron Jajak's video of it, and then I realized, oh crap, like, oh, this was a real tornado here that it was pretty strong. And then yeah, I found out, yeah, it did kill somebody. Even like obviously I didn't see the tornado. Obviously I was nowhere near it. This was one of the storms I saw from Kansas City, and so I was way out, yeah, here east here in the metro, just waiting on it and just filming the anvil lightning bolts coming down and the anvil crawlers and stuff. And even just that, I was like, oh, well, the fact that I even took that much pleasure from that supercell and someone died in it, like even then I think about it. So I can't imagine what it feels like for, yeah, to find out after a chase that someone died and you could have done more. But it's like there's so much stuff you can do and so much you can't do either. It's like I just figuring out what you can and can't control, I guess, in times like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a force of nature. It is what it is. You can't control it. You can only react to it.
Right. What would you say? I know you kind of said with the windshield wiper car thing. Whoops. What would you say is the most strange tornado damage you've ever seen? My dad from Linwood, I guess, in Bonner Springs on his route has kind of an interesting story about that. But I'll let you go first.
Hmm. For as many tornadoes as I've seen, I haven't really seen much crazy or interesting damage. The Mountain View tornado, definitely. Here, give me 1 second. I'm gonna take my sweater off.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
There we go. It's getting hot in my apartment. I have my AC off.
Yeah. Hmm.
I would say the Mountain View tornado. Definitely. Just some of the most surprising damage I've seen from a tornado that it looked so non-threatening, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. It looked so non-threatening from its appearance, and yet it was able to do high-end EF3 damage right in front of me.
Right. Hmm.
There was one little bit of it that hit. I mean, okay, so this is when it was the Birch Tree EF2.
Uh huh.
It hit an industrial area or what was it? It was a little industrial park that had like backhoes, gas pipes, some pipes in there and whatnot.
Huh.
And this tornado, I mean, it was basically invisible. You could barely see it with your eye,
Right.
and then it goes into this industrial area, and you just see debris just get obliterated. I mean, absolutely freaking obliterated.
It's gonna hit this building, Zandy. You ready for search and rescue? No, 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 no.
Yeah.
And it just really surprised me how strong the tornado was without having a condensation funnel.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
completely blew me away.
Yeah. A lot like the Westmoreland. It seems like when you think about it as well, like a lot like
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it baffled me how strong this tornado was, but how sort of innocent it looked.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find I don't think they ever rated the DI from that.
Hmm.
When did this get surveyed?
Do you know if there's damage surveys or like buildings on tornado routes that don't get added into don't get added into the maps of like the survey maps because excuse me because there's houses that in the Linwood tornado that in Bonner Springs and stuff on the west side of town that were pretty like some of which were like destroyed and stuff like to the point where they were a total loss. So, but then the I guess the whatchamacallit, Weather Service on the damage assessment toolkit only has EF1 ratings there with only one EF2 house, which is one I think on Auburn Road or something like that. If you have that significant tornadoes book like from 1974 to 2022, if you go to the Linwood tornado, it actually that's the house that it shows. But that's one of the ones that my dad delivered to. I guess that they said it was EF2 rated, but it must have been a pretty flimsy house because I mean it only had like two walls standing or something like that. But it's like that wasn't the only house apparently that was like that. There were some others, but they are not really rated on there. It's like, well, it couldn't have been EF1 to do that. So I wonder, and it's like, I think the KU did a study on that tornado and mapped it more in depthly and showed that there were a lot more, there was heavier damage in the area. So based on what you just said with the Mountain View tornado or whatever that, or Birch Tree or sorry, whichever one, sorry, based on what you said with those, do you know if there's like, I guess, like some damage indicators that go kind of missed like that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Mountain View was pretty well documented. Greenfield was, oh my gosh, that Greenfield was extremely well documented. I
Yeah.
have come
Almost like
across
more.
damage from tornadoes that does go undocumented. I mean, they usually do find damage that's equal level to what I'll find,
Hmm.
and they'll rate it. Say like I find an EF2 DI, they may not document that, but there's going to be another EF2 DI that they will document. But I do know that a lot of DIs go missing, but you're never going to have a DI that goes missing that can upgrade a tornado, if that
Right.
makes sense.
I think so. It's like if it's important enough, it's gonna make sure it's included. Yeah.
Like, they know that that DI is there, but they already have the sufficient evidence for this tornado to be upgraded to, like, say, EF4, that they don't necessarily need to thoroughly rate the DI.
Yeah.
The other one, knowing that the original one was EF4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's Casey's.
I guess my dad's story in Bonner Springs with damage. It's kind of like they say, like where tornadoes will hit certain things and leave other things, I guess. But it's interesting. Like he said, this was in Bear Lake. So now you live in Bonner Springs, right? So you probably know what I'm talking about with Bear Lake.
I live in Missouri.
Oh, okay. But yeah, you used to live in Bonner,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know where Bear Lake is?
Is it Lake of the Forest that he's referring to?
It's like on Linwood Road, like out west of town a little bit, like that. There's like a little
Okay,
small.
so it's by Douglas County line then.
I think maybe, yeah, but yeah, it's in somewhere out like yeah, like on the western countryside of town there.
Yeah, I know
And
where that is in.
okay, yeah, and I guess yeah, the tornado came through there, like on the end of its path, and that was his route in there as well. And so there was some some houses that were destroyed there. Like there was one house that was destroyed, I think, and then some had some minor to kind of medium level damage on them and their roofs and stuff. And then, but there were some in the middle of those that were just like there was one in the middle of those at the end, kind of that were like not even touched or whatever. And then not only that, but one of the houses that was hit really hard, it's like there was like a few walls standing or whatever in where the garage was, but then there was a coat left hanging on the hanger, and that always stuck out to me. I was like, "What? That's ridiculous."
That's
Just how that
wild.
works. Yeah, it's kind of like there's that famous picture of like the cake in the glass container thing that's still there after the tornado. It's like reminds me of that. Yeah, and I think part of the reasons for that, and then also why the house damage was so sporadic then, was because the tornado was starting to break up when it got to Bonner. So my guess is that it did something a lot like the Harlan-Minden tornado this year, where it just had only you couldn't see it because all the rain. So it just probably had a lot of vortices in there that were strong, but then a lot of open space where it was just kind of like 80 to 110-mile-an-hour winds or something like that weren't doing a whole lot.
I would bet to say that you're entirely right on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought.
The wind field from that tornado definitely was massive, but you probably, yeah, you're right. You probably had little vortices within
Right.
there that had a lot of enhanced speed.
Yeah.
Definitely, and I wish that tornado wasn't so rain wrapped as it was. I would have really loved to see what that thing looked like.
Oh, there are some videos out there, but yeah, it's like there's I think the one most notable. There's one that's really hard to find that Weather Nation posted that I was able to go back and find of yeah, if you go to Weather Nation on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and then search Linwood, it should pull it up, I think. But yeah, they were to the north of it and west of it as it passed, and that's pretty much the only area for most of its life where you could actually see the tornado non-rain wrapped. And then And then yeah, you could it's this resident form or filming it like going by their property, and they're like, oh, it's on the ground, look at it, it's all, and then you can see all the debris flying around it as well in there. And then the other one is from another weather page about Kansas City storms and on Facebook, and I think it's just called Kansas City Storm Chasers, and you can find them on Facebook, and they have a video, and you can see, and then they're near Lawrence and Eudora, east of there, and it also goes to their south and east, and you can see the full wedge, non-rain wrapped. You can see the side of it. You can see power flashes. It's really insane. So yeah, there's a couple videos, but there's only really two. And I guess you could also count the helicopter video. Got it unrain wrapped a couple times too. But yeah, for the most part, it was very hard to see. And by the time it got to Bonner, it was totally buried in the rain. Like it wasn't able to poke out anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, where was I during that day? I drove from my house in Leavenworth as it was ongoing to Quick Trip in Bonner. And then that's when I started having shingles falling on my truck at the time.
Mm.
And then that's what was like, that's the realization for me, like, nope, I'm not going to deal with this. Goodbye.
Yeah, Bail North. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, nope, nah, I don't have a death wish. I don't know how to chase. I'm done. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang, that's crazy. That's got to be the creepiest thing. I have not had that happen. Not that I know of anyway. If it did, I didn't see. The only time it would have happened would have been April 27th with, I guess, that we got in the mud there, and then we kept trying to find an escape route to get out of the way of the meso, basically. Because that supercell, for whatever reason up there that day, was the meso. It wasn't like a normal circular meso like you see. It was very elongated, if that makes sense. And so it made it really hard to tell where the tornado was going to come from. And it was so far away from the radar. So you chased up there the day before. You know how far away everything is from the radar. So it's like it was like I just hope this thing's not on the ground because I really can't tell. All I know is we're in the path of it and we need to move. And it's kind of transitioning between classic and HP, and so it's like eventually we just it's like we didn't really want to make a move because it was so elongated. We didn't know where the tornado would form. And so it was basically like, let's just kind of let it go over us. I know that probably wasn't the brightest idea either because it could have come down on top of us, but I guess like if it would have happened, that's when it probably would have happened. But thankfully, it wasn't on the ground at that point. And then after we followed it east, then it came back down again near Albany. But yeah, then Anthony, I was way too far away from that. I was way east of that for any sort of debris or anything. So yeah, I never had that happen. But I bet it's the spookiest thing ever.
I had, what day was it? Yes. There was a day in Oklahoma. Oh man, I can't remember the date for the life of me now. It was in 2023. Where was I for this?
Was that the coal day?
No.
Seminole, maybe? I can't remember that day, but it was that town,
It was
maybe?
sometime in, I think it was in May of 23.
Oh, that's 22 I'm talking about. I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah. Yeah, I don't... Did they have anything that year in May? I'm trying to think. Man, I'm like trying to remember, even. That's how you know there's been a lot of storms. I'm like, yeah, I can't remember some of them
Yeah,
now.
really.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was some random day in May that produced an EF2.
I think it was May 11th.
Within, like, 11. Hold on.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I wonder if it was that
No.
day. No? Okay.
No. Because I was at home for May 11 because the next day was Spalding,
Right.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was in June actually. It was in June.
Oh, okay.
I remember it now.
Yeah, there were some storms.
See if I can actually find it.
Yeah, that was the day some of
Trying to find
my chase partners or some of my friends got into a wreck. Okay, I remember that. If I'm thinking of the same day, anyway. there were a lot
I'm
of
trying to
storms
find
back here.
exactly what day it was. Oh, here we go. Now I got it. June 15th, 2023.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that is what I'm thinking of then. Okay.
I'll send you. It was a loco. It was a loco tornado. Yes, that's what it was.
Okay.
I'll send you a screenshot of the radar and my positioning towards the tornado. It was by the Frederick radar, but it was an EF2 tornado. I couldn't see it because it was at night, or was it at night? No, it just everything was pitch black because of how rain wrapped everything was,
Right.
and I had branches, leaves, shingles. I had siding. I had insulation falling all around me, and I'm right by this tornado. I can't see it for the life of me, but I know it's there. You can hear it, and I have everything from houses, from again shingles to insulation, hitting my car. It was the creepiest thing ever, dude. I was so spooked out by
I
this
bet.
thing.
I bet, especially if you can't see the tornado, but you see the debris raining down, so it's like it's there.
It
right.
was ejecting debris all over my car, but I just couldn't see the dang tornado.
Yeah. Another one of the big outbreaks this year, not of tornadoes, but of severe weather that's memorable for me, is the July 31st. Do you remember? Was it July or August? It was July, right? Yeah. Because that was the day Omaha got absolutely just assaulted by that bow echo, and then Kansas City.
I don't know if it was July 31st.
I want to say
it was not July 31st.
It wasn't, but yeah, so it was sometime in the summer like that. Yeah, it's like Omaha, and you were there. I remember Omaha just got absolutely.
I only know it wasn't July 31st because on July 31st I photographed the Northern Lights from Missouri.
Oh, really? It's like, I guess. But yeah, it's like I remember sometime around then. Yeah, the Omaha, and then you were there, and then I remember thinking, well, imagine that happened.
Was July 29th?
Maybe, but
no.
Okay, and then Kansas City had a similar storm, but not quite as strong. And then I remember the insane power flashes that a bunch of us all filmed because like it wasn't raining yet, and it lit up the whole metro basically. Do you remember that? Let's get moving. This could be a problem though with the power plant. Okay, so we're going to move, but the thing is, I'm kind of nervous about whatchamacallit, branches as I head home. So. Not want to get hit by branches. So let's just pull up over here real quick before we go, because I'll have to put this down. I might be able to film with it out, but I can't pay attention. I gotta drive here, so. All right, we gotta go. Pay attention to the road power flashing again. Oh dear. Okay, we're good, we're clear, go, go, go. That evening?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was live streaming for that. That was just
major
insane.
Outflow. Yeah, I was able to get a long exposure. I haven't posted it, but yeah, I got a long exposure in order to get the shelf cloud, so that was cool. And then Outflow, and I was like, I better pack up. And then Outflow just came in and just tore. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I better get home. That way I'm not locked out because of the garage. So, yeah, with the power. Because I thought the power was going to go out because there were power flashes, that blew up way to the southwest, kind of around probably like North Town or maybe a little to the west of there. And then I also caught some power flashes that I didn't see that were blowing up in Parkville, and they were everywhere. So I thought the power was going to go out for sure, but somehow it didn't. I don't know how, but yeah.
Oh, never mind. That was July 31st, 2024.
Okay, yeah, I thought so.
Then when did I photograph the Northern Light? Okay, I photographed the Northern Lights the next night. I believe August 1st
Hmm.
is when I photographed the Northern Lights from Missouri. Oh no, it was July 31st, but it
So
was
it cleared.
July 31st at like no, it was like July 31st at like 12 a.m.,
Oh,
1
like
a.m.
okay, the day before, technically,
Yeah, the
basically.
morning
Okay,
of.
okay, I got
Yeah.
you. I got you. But I guess that's another thing we could talk about. I guess yeah, we could talk about a little bit of space weather. Then I'll probably have to go. I still got to eat dinner. But then
I also have not had dinner.
yeah, yeah. But I guess yeah, a couple things. So yeah, first yeah, the Northern Lights, man. What a crazy past couple of years, particularly this year when it comes to that. My goodness. Yeah. What do
I
you think
have no
about that?
words for for any of it. I mean, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I know that Met Office and SWPC put out a statement saying that we are officially in solar maximum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I believe we have 2 years of heightened activity left before it goes sort of dull.
Right.
But I mean, what a freaking year, dude.
Yeah.
What 4G4s, 1G5. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the year to be alive for space weather.
Yeah. I mean, really for weather in general, but yeah, for space weather,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, obviously, because April 23rd happened last year. I'm sure you remember, and it was obviously I remember
Yep.
thinking that was my first time really having a good shot at seeing the aurora, and my first time seeing the aurora in hindsight. So I didn't really know what to look for. I thought they'd be a lot brighter, and then so I went home. My family kind of disappointed, didn't see them, and then I saw on the horizon as we're driving back this white misty fog glow, and I remember thinking, I just thought, excuse me, I just thought it was light pollution until I went and edited some of my photos, I guess, for my phone. It's the most crappy photo ever. And then I was like, oh no, that's Northern Lights. And then I saw the next week I was there in that same area and saw that it wasn't there anymore. And it was a clear night. So I knew it wasn't light pollution. I was like, oh, that's what it looks like. So I was like, man, that sucks because chances are that's a once in a lifetime thing. Or not once in a lifetime, but it's a rare thing to have Northern Lights visible from Kansas City. And then, of course, you know what happens. Then May 11th or 10th or whatever it was. And then I look up and they're above my freaking house and you can see them to the south literally. And so I lose my crap. And the sun wasn't even fully down. And so I'm like, Mom, get out here. And so we enjoy that for a little bit. And then go up north a little bit to check it out a little bit and get some exposure. I got a really cool one with the trees behind my house and you can see the glow behind it. That was really cool. And then obviously by then I'm thinking, okay, that was probably not going to happen again for 10 or 30 years. And then you know what happened the other day, the other week. So then we had October 10th and it's just like, this is insane. And that one, I was able to actually get kind of more the peak of it. We saw the peak of it like on the horizon, like we caught it at the right time when we went out to look at it, if that makes sense. I was able to get some exposures. They weren't in focus, so that's annoying, but they were still really good. I mean, it was really cool, really awesome. You could see at first it was really faint, kind of that band, and then I'm sure you remember I want to say to the northwest, those first red pillars went up, and then everything took off after that. Yeah, that was crazy. Golly, it's just insane.
Funny enough, I was actually too far north on May 10th.
Hmm.
A lot of that night, I was actually shooting straight west or even south
Really?
for the aurora. 'Cause I was in South Dakota for that day.
That's insane. Yeah, you probably were too far north then, or South Dakota. That's insane when you're in North Dakota and you're too far north. Golly.
But yeah, I mean, space weather in 2024, it's so awesome to see so many people take an interest in it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like this year, like this year, even just this year, but the past couple definitely have brought so many new people into the
This
weather
month,
community. Yeah, even the month, I bet. It's like I haven't been on
I mean,
Twitter
I've
very much,
captured
but
the aurora.
you go
I
ahead.
think I've captured the aurora 4 times this month already.
Wow. Yeah. It's like for me, I think I've captured
I
it
believe.
twice this year, but for me, that's enough. I mean, if I could push a button to make it happen again tonight, I would. But I'm saying like, oh, I'm okay with that. I'm
Funny
like, that's
enough, I
crazy.
think my aurora count and my tornado count are almost equal to each other for this year.
Gosh, crazy
Actually, no,
times.
my tornado count's much higher. My tornado count's up there in like the 50s. I believe
Dang.
I photographed the aurora about 20 times this year,
Hmm.
somewhere in that range.
Wow. And then the other thing I
I
wanted to talk
mean,
about. Sorry, were you going to say something?
no, go ahead.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I was just the other thing I want to talk about was, of course, regarding space weather. We had the eclipse back in April, so that was nice. Do you remember? I'm sure. Do you remember the 2017 one? Were you able to see that the totality in that? We were not able to because that storm hit
No,
afterwards.
and I did not travel for that. I also didn't travel for this one
Oh, okay.
because I worked that day,
Oh darn! I'm
unfortunately.
sorry, dude. Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, that was really cool getting to see the totality. So because we weren't able to in 2017, so yeah, and then it's also surreal because you see like obviously like not only is it like you say with the community and the joys of everybody being there watching, it's very wholesome like that, and everyone's taking interest in it, and you it's like you feel like these strangers that are next to you. At first, it's like they pull up and you're like, oh dang it, I have to share this space. But then in the next but by the end of the day, you're like exchanging phone numbers and all this stuff with them and stuff like that, you know. And so not only that, it's like yeah, that was really surreal, but yeah, just the whole physical change of the atmosphere and everything like that. Like they say, very cool. The sounds, and it's also interesting because you could see like the airplanes in the sky. Like where all the airliners were and stuff, like you could see like the paths they took would bend and stuff in the sky, and then like, oh look, like you could tell that they were taking interest in it and like giving people on both sides a chance to see the eclipse. So I thought that was also pretty wholesome and nice of them to do that. So yeah, yeah, definitely get it. Be definitely get into totality one day. There's no doubt about it. Do it definitely.
One of these days.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably have to get going. I think.
Me as well. I'm gonna go make some dinner and probably
Okay.
work on some YouTube videos and relax a little
Same.
bit.
Sam. I'm gonna upload an extended version of my Salina footage, and then maybe this too, if you're okay with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, good talking to you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Also, thanks again for all the
Yeah.
help that you've done with the group and stuff. I appreciate it. So, I'll talk to you later. Have a good
I
night.
will continue to help as long as I can.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You have a good night.
Yep. You as well.
Thank you.